are, guys. We are going to go again more into JavaScript, more into HTML, more into CSS today. We're going to touch HTML a little bit. We're going to touch the CSS, probably not at all. And the JavaScript we'll touch a lot. We're going to do a lot of JavaScript. So much JavaScript. Okay. Our app needs to do the next thing, which is actually do something. When we put some value in there and then we click the button, we want something to happen. Right? So we've went over some very basic JavaScript structures and how to store some information. And now we're going to learn how to get some information from the user so then we can store it in there. But we also had to learn about those structures so that we can understand how we're getting those values. Because remember, everything is an object. And so we're going to have some fun applying that thought process a lot today. So in this video, so let's do this. Here we go. Okay, so you'll see here, I have all of our examples still hanging out here. Okay, I am not going to get rid of them in the sense of like deleting them and making them go away. They're going to hang out here and be part of the application as a learning piece for you. But what I will say is like I'm gonna add stuff above it. All right. So what I'm gonna do is put a comment here, and I'm gonna make a little bit different comment using some different stuff. But I'm just gonna say learnings. Yeah, I like that. Learnings. There are learnings below here. Right. Everything above is part of the app. Right, so we'll just copy the same comment. So it's just a bigger, different comment. It's still just a comment for notes. And we'll say app. App code is up here. Learning code is down there. And this is, for now, part of our app code. But we'll maybe move it down. Actually, you know what? We're gonna move it down. We're done with the learning. It's served its purpose, and we're now in the app. Like, we're in the app code for days now. I have the hiccups. This is gonna be a fun video. Here we go. Let's just do this. Because like, if this was my boot camp and you were here in my boot camp class and I had the hiccups, I'm not canceling class. No. We're just gonna get this done. All right, here we go. So we have our title. We have an input. We have a button that when we click, we call logger, but we're gonna call something else now. We're gonna call a function called roll the dice, baby. So we've got to make that now. Now, if you remember how to make a function, here's that structure, roll the dice. We're going to make that same structure, but with the name of roll the dice. So function, roll the dice. Parentheses, curly braces. Now, no information is going to come in. We actually have to go get that information. All right, so the way we do that is we use an object and a method. So there's an object called the document. This document object refers to basically the whole visual piece over here. This guy over here, like the actual app. This is the DOM piece, or the document. Okay. So as part of the document, we have the ability to access pieces or run methods on it. So there's a method called get element by ID. All right. So this is a method on the document, just like honk was on car, just like log is on console. Okay, so we do this a lot, as you're seeing in JavaScript. Now, we need to give it some contextual information. And the information that we're going to give it is an identifier by ID of the input. Now the input doesn't have an ID, it just has a class. So I'm going to add an ID before the class. Doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter where it goes, but we're going to do it before. So the ID here will be dice hyphen input. All right, there are rules about inputs, like what they can be, what they can't be, what values they can have in them, what values they can't. I would suggest, for the time being, while you're learning, if you're going to do more than one word, use a hyphen to separate it and just stick with that. One quick note is just like we used action here as a class to be a selector in CSS, we can also use the ID. I'm not going to show you how to do it. I would prefer that you didn't use IDs to style. You can, for sure, and there are definitely use cases for it. But while you're learning, just use IDs in JavaScript. Use classes for styling. So I'm not going to show you this. You can Google it and find it. But what we are going to do is use this ID in our JavaScript, right? That way, if you change styling things, it won't break your JavaScript. And if you change JavaScript things, it won't change your styling. We've created a separation of concerns there, right? Like a line, if you will, in the sand that you can't cross. Now we're going to put that name in here that we typed up there, dice input. So if I come in here and I start typing dice hyphen input, there we go. So we're getting an element by ID. Now this method does something different that we haven't talked about. It returns a value for us to use. So I'm going to say let input L for input element equal this. And then what I'm going to do is use our logger function to learn real quick. Actually, let's pretend like we don't have the logger function. Let's do what we do as a real developer. I would say console.log input element, because I probably won't have a logger function like that everywhere I go. We just happen to have one today, and I don't want to get a handicap on it. So there we go. There's our console.log. We're just logging the input element when we roll the dice, and let's see what we can learn. Right, and so this is a very useful tool to learn what you're working with. So as I come over here, we refresh the page. So we get all those values from before. I'm going to clear this. That button will clear it so that we don't get distracted. I'm going to click this button and we get an input. That's literally the input right there. That's so cool. Right, now, if I right click it, there's an opportunity for us to store as a global variable. And that didn't do what I wanted to do, but there it is. Okay, so there it is. We have it. Okay, but I want to get this information from it. All right, so what I'm going to do is show you a little way to search things and find answers for JavaScript stuff now. Okay, so when I search JavaScript, I always type MDN, so I get a site that's referred to as the Mozilla Developer Network, I believe. It's basically the people that write and build Firefox have this awesome documentation for us. So I've got MDN, and then I want to know HTML input get value. I don't know. Okay, here we go. So there's like this first one. Let's just hit it. Let's see what they have here. They have a demo for us. Neat. So look at this, input types. There's a whole bunch of types on the input. There's attributes. Goodness gracious. There's a lot of attributes here. And individual attributes. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're getting more stuff about the attributes. And this is documentation. This is intense. This might be a little too much. I know what we're looking for, and so I'm gonna just walk away from this because this is too complex to find what I'm looking for. And I want to find an easier example. So I'm gonna get rid of the MDN piece, but MDN will take you to documentation that sometimes is helpful. Not very helpful at this moment. HTML DOM input text value property. So another place that's pretty helpful is W3 schools. As an industry, I will tell you, we don't love it. I don't know why. There's actually a lot of reasons why. There's blog posts and stuff on how damaging W3 schools is sometimes. So, but as a new guy, I don't care. Go here. Go here. Now, when you're a seasoned vet like me, you don't go here. You don't click on this link. This is like maybe embarrassing if you're doing that. Like, oh, people went there. A great place to go if you see it show up in the top 5 is a Stack Overflow. Oh my goodness, this is great. Let's click here and see what we can see. So this person's like, I'm doing this thing and I have an input and this is my JavaScript and they want to get the input text value so they can put it there. Okay. So method 1, document.get element by ID. That looks so familiar to what we're doing. And then dot value. So had I not just jumped in and done the document.get element by ID, we might have dug in and found this whole nugget here to help us. All right. So we've got this value here that they say. This is, remember these dots. We're going to talk about this. We didn't talk about this too much. Let's go back, but just know we've got this dot value thing that might help us. So back to the code. Okay. One thing in an object that I did not show that I should have shown, which I apologize, is I can do car dot make model year, and what these will all do is go to the car and grab the make. So it'll grab Honda, model will grab Odyssey, year will grab 2018, and it will log those out for us. So what's really cool is now that we have the input is just an object in JavaScript again, and it has a dot value. All right, so I'm going to save this, and let's go see what's changed. So if I refresh this page, we have hi, all these things. Oh, look, Honda Odyssey 2018. Okay, so some different ways to work with the object to get specific pieces. I can get the whole object, but I can also get pieces of it. Okay, so we're going to clear this. If I roll the dice right now, we just got this blank line. Nothing showed up here. But if I type something in here, it shows up. Isn't that neat? We're now getting the information out of here. That's sick. Okay, so now that we're getting the information, we need to be able to do something with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so now that we've come back to the code, what we're going to do is rather than console log this out, we're going to come up here and we're going to say let user input equal the input L dot value. Now we're going to console log out that user input, which would be just the same thing. There's nothing different happening here. Okay, so we click roll the dice, we'd go grab the element, we get the value, drop it on here to the user input, and then we'd log out that user input. And just like that, now we're actually starting to get information from the user, and the next step is actually to do something with it. So we have to take some piece of contextual knowledge from the user and do something with it. All right, so, oof. Do we do it right now? Do we have some? I think we have a little bit of time. Let's just do something with it right now. All right, no. Yes, we're gonna do something with it right now. All right, we're gonna build another function right here. Function. Oh, get over here. We're gonna call this function dice roll. And it takes a number of sides. So the number of sides of a dice. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this function is it is going to return the result of the dice being rolled. So we have to figure out how to take a number and get a result. All right, now I know how to do this, so I could just show you. But again, we're going to try and do the Google search and see what we can find out. So, let's do JavaScript generate random number. Let's see. Ooh, math.random at MDN even. Let's go see what we can learn here. So get random integer where there's a max. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're looking for. Because what the user is going to do is say like 6, and we're going to roll a 6-sided dice. They're going to say 20, and we'll roll a 20-sided dice. I mean, this is our function right here. I'm literally going to copy this. I'm going to come back to the code. I'm going to drop this function in right here and literally not even adjust it one bit. I have no concerns about this. It is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, now this gets really kind of meta and confusing, so let's just walk through what's happening. When you call dice roll, you provide a number of sides. Then we're going to call get int and pass along that number of sides, which get random int refers to now as max. Then we're going to take this max number and floor it. So if it has any decimal numbers, there's a math object in JavaScript that has methods, and floor, which is one of those methods, will strip off the decimals. So if it was 3.5, it'll be 3. If it was 4.9, it'll be 4. It's not rounding them, it's removing them. All right, so remember that, it's a little bit different. Then we're doing another math.floor of the whole thing. Now, math.random is the tricky piece here. Math.random generates a random number from 0 to 1. We could go look at the documentation. The math.random function returns a floating point or a decimal number, pseudo-random number in the range of 0 to less than 1. Includes 0, but does not include 1. With an approximate uniform distribution, blah, 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 scientific words that are really cool and I don't understand everything. And that's okay. So get random number, they have this other helpful little function we could use. So this will get us a random one. Get random arbitrary. So if I have a min and a max, I can get a min and max in between there. So this is why I like MDN, because they provide really cool, helpful things. Get a random int. So we have a min and a max, and we do the whole thing with the min and max values. Right, so if I wanted a number between 1 and 10, that's what this could be used to do. All right. So neat stuff. Okay, so this is a very helpful find for us. So let's go back though. So 0 to 1 does not include 1. So if we say 6, if we say roll a 6, then we'll get 0 to 6, but not including 6. And we're flooring it So we need to add 1. We could do a ceiling here, and that would push it up. So if it, well, but a 0 would still be a 0. So that wouldn't work. So we'll just add 1 here. So this would give us 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if we did a 6. And now that we add 1 to it, it'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So that's kind of what's happening here. Now I'm moving a little fast through here, and I apologize for that. But this is a video. You can pause it, stop it, and play around with things. And hopefully you're doing this kind of on your own and not just watching. And so you're kind of getting to a point where you can play around with it. Now, we've got this user input. So what we're going to do is get the random, or sorry, we're going to roll the dice. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. We're going to roll the dice here. Roll, or dice roll, sorry. Dice roll. The value. Now, there is a part of this code that is broken, and we'll resolve that kind of stuff next time. But let's go see what this console logs when we roll. All right. So we'll refresh. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to type a 6 in here and roll it. And we get a 4, a 5, a 1, a 5, a 2, a 4, a 4, a 5, a 3. Just need to see a 6. There's a 6. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're able to get all of those values. And if I sit here and do this a whole bunch, we'll never see 0. We'll never see 7, because that's how this thing works. All right. We're able to just roll these dices all day. We're getting somewhere. If I wanted to roll a d20 or a dice with 20 sides, there we go. If I wanted to roll a dice with 100 sides, there we go. I could even roll a dice with 100,000 sides, which there's no such dice in real life, but there we go. Neat, huh? Crushing it. Love it. Okay, so quick recap, and we'll get ready for the next section. All right, guys. So today we did a little bit of not CSS, a little bit of HTML, and we did a little bit of a lot of more of JavaScript. Okay, we added an ID to our HTML so that we could select it through JavaScript. And now that we have it selected, we can get the value out of it, and then we're able to jump around really quick at the end and find some random value generating pieces to get a random number. And we kind of strung them all together really quick, and we'll go over them again and kind of walk through them and refresh our minds as we move into the next piece. But we're almost done with this application. We have one more functional piece to take care of, and then after that, we're going to work on making it look nice, and then we're done. So there's 2 more episodes in this series, and we'll be done. Pretty cool, and you've learned how to develop, get a little taste for it. Like a little taste, like there's like a little space in there maybe? I don't think so. A little taste of developing. All right, we'll see you guys next time.